The White House has had its fair share of controversy over the president's year and a half of serving in office, especially when it comes to the comings and goings of the president's staff. The likes of Sean Spicer, Hope Hicks, Reince Priebus, and Anthony Scaramucci, to name a few, are just some of the many people that have come to the White House to serve President Trump and then left shortly thereafter. Yet another White House official was recently let go, and the developments regarding why she was let go will not surprise you whatsoever, especially when you hear about who is involved. Reuters reported, a White House official who supported higher numbers of refugee admissions to the United States and clashed with immigration hardliners in the Trump administration left her position on Thursday, two U.S. officials with knowledge of the departure said. Jennifer Arangio, a senior director at the White House National Security Council for International Organizations and Alliances, left after months of open disagreements with officials who support slashing refugee admissions, including White House Senior Policy Advisor Stephen Miller and Department of Justice official Gene Hamilton, said the officials, who spoke on condition of anonymity. The sources said Arangio was escorted from the White House. It was not clear if her departure was directly linked to her views on refugee admissions. Her departure was first reported by Politico. The White House did not immediately respond to a request for comment. Arangio did not immediately respond to LinkedIn and Facebook messages requesting comment. Arangio received support from Senior National Security Council (NSC) leadership when it was led by H.R. McMaster, one of the officials said. John Bolton, who took over as National Security Advisor in April, has expressed skepticism about some U.S. refugee admissions, especially from Syria. Arangio served on President Donald Trump's 2016 campaign as the National Director of Women Engagement, according to her LinkedIn profile. During her time on the NSC, she advocated for robust refugee admissions as a tool of foreign policy to convince other countries that the United States was sharing the load of responding to global conflicts, one of the U.S. officials said. Prior to her tenure at the White House, Arangio worked for 8 years for the U.S. House of Representatives Committee on Homeland Security. She served on the staff for the 2004 Republican National Convention, and ran for the New York City Council in 2003 as a Republican, according to a biography on the website of a former employer. When they're marching people out of the White House who have such impeccable conservative credentials, then you really have to wonder about what kind of policy-making environment we have in the White House on migration issues, said Eric Schwartz, president of Refugees International and a former State Department official during the Obama administration. In September, the Trump administration is set to announce a new cap for refugee admissions for the next fiscal year, and White House discussions over the new level have already begun. The cap for this year, 45,000, is the lowest since the modern refugee program began in 1980, and the actual number may be far lower. Refugee admissions are currently on track to reach only about half the number allowed by the cap, according to refugee advocacy groups. President Trump has made it abundantly clear from the very beginning where he stands on illegal immigration, refugee assistance, and immigration policy. If a staffer does not agree with that stance, then they should not be working for the president and they should choose employers who more closely align with their views. Otherwise, what exactly does she expect? When working in the White House, you have to work on the agenda and initiatives of the president. If that is not okay with them, then they need to leave. Arangio learned this lesson the hard way. Given the serious problem regarding broken amnesty, DACA, and unfiltered border crossings, it is amazing that anyone would oppose the president's agenda in this sphere. She deserved to be fired if she was willing to undermine the president's agenda and initiatives while working in the White House. If you can't agree to the terms of what it takes to work in the White House, then you don't belong. Leave the position open to someone who is actually qualified, willing, ready, and able to fulfill the job requirements to the best of their abilities at the pleasure of the president. Comment on whether you think Arangio should have been let go from the White House staff or not. Share if you believe the Trump administration was right to let her go. Share if you agree that Arangio likely did not get along with Stephen Miller based on their stance on refugee admissions. Share if you think that Arangio did not belong in the Trump administration based on her beliefs.